What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today it's time to talk about a first generation Viper.
Get ready! Extreme automotive addiction! Yeah!
So yes, behold, before you sits a 1995 Dodge Viper, the last year of the first generation Viper. And Viper went on to really be a big name. I think they were discontinued, I want to say in 2017. I haven't really done my homework on that, so if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments below. But the first generation was really the most raw Viper that was made. Actually, it's kind of like that movie Rocky 3, if you guys ever saw that, where Mickey is having that conversation with Rocky.
But then the worst thing happened to you that could happen to any fighter. You got civilized.
Yeah, over the years, the Viper became more civilized. When this car first came out, it was just all about power. No conveniences. It didn't have air conditioning, no outside door handles, no trash control, no analog brakes, no launch control, no nothing. Over the years, the Viper definitely got a lot more horsepower than these, but it became more civilized with all those conveniences to kind of keep you out of trouble, keep you safe, keep you sane. That's why so many of these vehicles are now salvage title if they're still out there on the road, because so many people got into trouble with them, drove above their limits and wrapped around telephone poles, ran into other parked cars or moving cars for that matter. They can be a handful if you don't know what you're doing and if you really abuse the car. Now, I am absolutely the first person to admit that I have never been a really big Viper fan. Honestly, before the channel, I had a third generation Viper, and it was actually another 100 horsepower over this. It was red as well, but I really didn't enjoy it that much, and it didn't break my heart to get rid of it. And I will say, I never liked the first generation Viper. I never liked it at all. I didn't like the wheels on it. I didn't like the dimensions. I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like anything about it, quite honestly. I just thought it looked like a cartoon car. And one day, just suddenly something clicked, and I started liking them. And I decided I wanted another Viper, and I wanted a first generation Viper. So I set out on a quest, and I started looking. I went and looked at another one before this one. Not nearly as clean, not nearly as low miles. And I ended up passing on it. I made an offer, but we just couldn't come to terms. We were just a little ways away. We weren't that far away, actually, but I'm glad that it didn't work out. I like the color combination in this one much better, and this is one that's just so much cleaner. This particular car has 22,000 original miles on it. It does have air conditioning. It does have the solid top on it, which creaks incredibly. You guys will see that when we go for a ride in it. But it has the canvas windows. You have to unzip them, and you have to reach in through here to open the door. There is no inside hood latch. You got to go underneath the hood in front and do a couple things and move it forward and move it this way and stand on your head and jump around 3 times, and then you can open the hood. So it's not a car that you want to daily drive. It's not a car you want to take someplace and think that you're going to secure it or secure anything in it, because you're not. It's just a fun toy, weekend toy, something to have fun with, play with, have a good time with, and put back in your garage. So here is the heart of the beast. Massively huge 8-liter V10 motor producing 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, and it is a torque monster. It really is. Now, I know 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, it doesn't sound like a lot by today's standards, but in 1995, when this car was running around, it was a lot. It was one of the high horsepower vehicles out there, and even by today's standards, this thing pulls very nicely. You remember that I said I had a third generation Viper, and that thing was rated at like 500 horsepower. And quite honestly, I can't tell a big difference. This seems like it pulls just as strong, it pulls just as hard, and it's incredible. It just pulls from bottom end. You can lug the motor or whatever you want to do, step on the throttle, and it will set you back in the seat, and it just keeps on pulling and keeps on pulling all the way up to redline. It's backed by a 6-speed manual transmission. That's the only way you could get a Viper ever. They never offered an automatic. And the gearing is incredibly tall in these vehicles. As a matter of fact, you can pretty much break the speed limit in first gear. 6th gear is pretty much useless unless you're going to run like 90 or 100 miles an hour down the freeway, and even then you're not tacking very much. I find that for most of my driving, I just stay in the first 5 gears, and I'm very happy with it. Now let me take you guys for a walk around this car. First of all, you know, the wheels are something I was never crazy about. I just did not like these wheels, and I mean, there are better choices for wheels out there, but they just scream first generation Viper. Now, something else inherent to the Vipers, and a lot of them had this side exhaust. So you really had to be careful when you were getting out of the vehicle, or you would get burned. See that vent that I don't really think does anything except look really, really cool. Come around to the back, and this car just has a very nice rear end. Look at the size of those tires, 335s, absolutely huge tires, and you need it. Trust me, you definitely need it. If you get on this thing too hard in the first gear, slam the clutch out, you're gonna spin these tires very easily. But just walk around and look at the beauty that is the Dodge Viper. That is the money shot right there. Interior wise, pretty basic. You wrap around here to the gauges, you'll see you have the speedometer, you have your tachometer, and then all the information you really need. Got your climate controls, and as I said, this one does have air conditioning. It actually works, which is nice. Gear shift. With this car, you really do feel like you're sitting in a cockpit, a true cockpit of a race car. Just the way everything is set up, and this big massive hood in front of you, it is just absolutely, it's something. It really is something. As a matter of fact, I think when I take you guys out for a spin in it, I think I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put the first person viewpoint camera thing on my head, you know, that thing. That way you guys can really get a feel for what it's like to be behind the wheel of this car, and it's something you have to experience in person. If you haven't driven one, if you haven't ridden one, you really should. But yeah, I'll put that camera on and we'll go out for a little spin. Before we do, I just want to talk a little bit more about the car. Now this particular car, like I said, 95, it's got 22,000 original miles. It just turned over 22,000 as a matter of fact. So it is super, super clean. Like I said, I went to look at another one and it was a little rougher. It had a few more miles on it. It was black. I mean, it was okay, and I actually would have bought it. Like I said, I made an offer on the car, but luckily they didn't budge. They didn't come off their price that much, and they said, you know, bottom line was this. Like I said, I want to say we're like $500 away. I really don't think we're very far away, but I ended up walking. I almost went back and paid the extra money and bought it, but I'm glad I waited. It turned out really well. Actually, a buddy of mine was looking at trading his vehicle for this, and then my buddy kind of backed away from it and said, hey, if you want the Viper, it's all yours. So I went and looked at it, bought it from a guy by the name of Dennis, and super nice guy, and he was just looking to change things up. He'd had this for a while and he's ready to get rid of it. He had just put new tires on it. He had just done the AC system. So really there is nothing to do on this car at all. The only thing that I really should do, and I probably will before too much longer, is the gas gauge. I think the sending unit inside the tank isn't working very well, because it'll come up, I know it's full right now, but it'll come up like to full and then it'll drop back down and it'll kind of waver or what have you. So I need to probably take it to Dodge and have that done. I'm not looking forward to the bill that's going to be coming with that, but I do like everything to be working on my car, so I probably will get that done here in the not too distant future. But enough talking, let's go for a drive. So behind the wheel of the Viper, give you guys kind of a first-hand look, a POV, so to speak, of what it's like. And I think I'm going to take you guys down the freeway, really show you how tall the gearing is. And we're in fourth gear doing like 55 and tacking about 2200 RPMs right now. And I still got 2 more gears to go. It's a great thing about these cars, a ton of torque, so it can pull the taller gearing. jump into a little bit for you guys. Kind of a second gear roll on here. Like a cockpit, like a race car, because that's what they were. They were race cars. Again was short shifting at $5,000. I've gotten till $6,000, but yeah, this car just, it keeps pulling. That's what's so awesome about this V10. It just keeps pulling. So you will obviously note that the vehicle stock exhaust, it's actually very quiet. Kind of surprised me how quiet it is. But nothing's been done to this car. Nothing's been altered in any way, shape, or form. And I don't plan to do anything to it. I just want to drive it the way it is. I actually had thought about maybe lowering the rear end gearing on it, but I don't even think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to leave it alone, drive it the way it came from the factory, enjoy it, and eventually, yes, I will get rid of the car. I'll send it to somebody else. I'm not in any hurry to do that. You know, I say this about all my cars, and I know I say this all the time, but there's only so many ways you can say it. The car is a lot of fun to drive. It's very enjoyable. When we went to pick it up, Eddie went with me. He drove it back, and he said next to the Pantera, this is probably his favorite vehicle right now, and that's saying a lot because he loves that Pantera. So it is. If you get the chance to own a Viper, go for it. If you can even just go for a ride in one, take one for a drive or what have you, you really should. You owe it to yourself to do that because they are a blast. They're a lot of fun. So yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video. If you like the video, definitely give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Trying to grow the channel, so I really appreciate all the help I can get. I appreciate the support. Keep it coming. I love it. As always, my Venmo, Instagram, P.O. Box, everything like that's going to be in the description below. If you got something cool, definitely send it my way to the P.O. Box. As I said before, I am collecting license plates from all of 50 states. I've got a lot of states to go, so if you got an old license plate, definitely, I would really appreciate it if you send it to my P.O. Box. I will give you a shout out on air. And yeah, God bless. Take care. Have an absolutely amazing day.